Do you want to learn how to become a software developer without a college degree? Well, if you do, then listen up because I'm going to tell you how I did it. Hey, what's up, guys? Rocket here. So today I'm going to tell you how I became a software developer with literally zero experience in IT and also zero college degree. A little backstory on me. So I had a kid when I was 18, and I was forced to leave college essentially and become a customer service representative essentially. And I decided that that's not what I wanted for my life, but I couldn't afford college. So I decided to learn on my own. And so what I decided to do was become a software developer. And I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to start. All I knew is that I needed a computer and I needed time. So what I did is I bought a really expensive computer with a credit card and I started just learning everything there is to know about IT. I didn't just start with software development straight out. In fact, I hated software development straight out. I actually decided I wanted to be a network engineer, and that's what I wanted to do because I saw that you could get certified with like a CCNA, CCNP, or, you know, at the time I thought like a Network Plus. Pro tip, don't get a Network Plus, get a CCNA. So I decided that I was just going to become a network engineer and I was going to make a bunch of money. So I went down that path. I did go back for one class in college, which was the Networking Plus certification class, and I took it, but I never took the certification because I was very lazy at the time. So I decided not to take the certification, and some systems interested me more, but I realized that to become any type of, even a network engineer or systems engineer, I needed to get some experience. So but of course, you can't become a systems engineer or a network engineer without experience. You just can't. Like they just don't hire you as one because you don't have, even in college, I would say, from my experience, at least at community college, you didn't get a good. They didn't offer the courses to where you actually got exposure to real business systems as a systems engineer. And yes, you were doing some basic things. Like even with a CCNA, you could do some basic things, but on a more enterprise scale, you weren't going to get access to that kind of exposure in a college environment. So, and that was just my experience. You guys, if you're in college, you might have a different experience on that. But just my personal experience is that I didn't have anything close to what I encounter on a day-to-day basis today. So anyway, I decided I want to be a systems administrator or systems engineer. And so I decided that I was going to go get a help desk job. So I was currently working customer experience at an insurance company. And I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go try to get my first job. So I went and applied for a help desk position. And they eventually turned me down, but then a month later they called me back and hired me on. So, and this is so I'm going to tell you guys, this is my personal timeline. And then I'll kind of give you some of the tips and tricks that I, realize now that can help a lot of you. So my timeline from help desk to systems administrator to systems developer, is approximately 2 years. And I was a help desk tech for about 9 months. And then I went over to being a junior systems administrator. And then once I became a junior systems administrator, because I befriended and remember this, I befriended the senior systems administrator. And then I became a systems developer because I had befriended the systems manager. God, there's so many titles of that company. Like the senior systems manager. Basically, all of our boss, I befriended him, and that's how I learned how to start writing code in PHP. Up until that point, I thought all code was terrible and scary, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. Once I was forced to basically do it, it was more of a personal force, I would say, more than anything else, because I was given this task in front of me. I saw an issue that was in the company, and I wanted to solve it. And so I decided to try to figure it out. And it was painstaking. It was awful. And I probably did almost everything wrong that you shouldn't have done. And looking back on that first project, which was a very simple project of just taking a basic PHP CodeIgniter website. If any of you use CodeIgniter, I'm so sorry. I'm just kidding. It's way better than WordPress in my opinion. But I was taking that and I was running simple PowerShell scripts from the CodeIgniter code and presenting Active Directory data basically for a website and for some TVs too. So that is my very first application that I wrote, and that's where I started. And then it kind of transitioned more into, okay, this is really cool and the front end's great, but I really like more of what's going on the data side and the back end. So then I had to learn, because I had to work with these databases, because inevitably we had people leave and then I had to fill those gaps. So I had to learn all this stuff. So I ended up learning Transact SQL, and then I ended up, working with Linux and MySQL. Now, I should mention that I did have previous experience working with Linux. I've been in Linux boxes since I was like 14 because I really liked offensive security. I'm going to leave it at that. And that is kind of where I started with like script kiddie type stuff. And so I went on from there to become like I said, a systems developer from the systems administrator. Learned Python very well. Already knew PowerShell by this point. Already knew some PHP. Was learning JavaScript, but like ES5, like it was not by any means React. I still don't know React to this day. And in fact, one of the future videos coming up is actually going to be me trying to learn React, because I've always wanted to learn. And I figured if you want to learn too, then we can suffer through together, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I went from being a systems developer, and then after that, I basically followed the CIO over to being a innovation engineer, which was basically kind of like the SEAL team in the IT department. And we would just try to solve these really, really big issues with software, with applications, with integrations, with orchestration. I was in charge, and this is where I got full exposure to AWS, hence why I'm a cloud architect today. And I really lead the DevOps side of things at my current company. And, we decided to go heavy in AWS at this previous company. And that's how I got that exposure. And so, I took all that knowledge, and now I am where I am today, and I lead a development team, and I'm a cloud architect. Now, I know that was really, really fast, and I didn't talk about any of the cool projects I worked on, which we will cover in later episodes. But the number one thing that I can recommend for you guys, and to give you a timeline, this was about 5 years. 5 years to going from help desk to cloud architect and leading a development team. Now, here is my number one advice. You have to befriend people. You cannot stay quiet. If you are just learning how to code and you have decided that you want to be a software developer, go to a code meetup. You have to go to a code meetup and you have to talk to other developers, because if you want to be a developer, my number one mistake that I thought code was daunting, and I'd probably be a much better developer today if I had just gotten up and gone to these code meetups and learned from other people that are right where I am, or they're way ahead of me. I could have gotten all of this exposure to things that people are working on, and I probably would have learned a lot more than just on my own. I mean, I am a very fast learner on my own, but interacting with other people that have the same interest is just a huge benefit to you. And on top of that, that's how you land jobs without a degree. If you don't have a degree, when you walk into an interview room, if you don't know anyone in that interview room and you have no degree and you have no experience, you are at literally the bottom of the pile. It doesn't matter about your GitHub. It really doesn't. I mean, I have interviewed so many developers, and I can tell you right now, I don't care what's on your GitHub. Just personally, I don't. I care where you've worked, and I care what you have done that you can lay out on paper and that you can explain to me when I ask about it. Your personal projects, those are so cool, but they just don't give the business any value, because if I see that you've done all this work on personal projects and you've done no work for a business, then that tells me that you're going to be focused on your personal projects more than you're going to be focused on us. Now, if you get into a meetup and you meet other developers that can then vouch for you in an interview, that's a completely different story. Because if I'm interviewing you and someone has said, yes, this one is really good, then I'm already thinking, okay, he doesn't have much experience, but someone has at least seen him code, and someone has at least seen him, provide some sort of sustenance to a development environment, then that's a whole different ballgame because you have someone vouching for you on the inside. And that's why those developer meetups are so important, especially for a new developer. Like you have to go to those so that way you can get the contacts and the connections and build the relationships. So that way you can have a job, if you don't have one already. And if you're just starting out, I will say too, if you're just starting out and you already landed that first development gig, then yeah, still go to them. You still need to go to them. They're really good to meet other people that are in software development, and you will get a lot of cool exposure usually at these things. So that's number one, network with people, go to the code meetups. Number two, focus on everything. So this I did very well at, I think more than anyone else. I just wanted to learn everything. It didn't matter what it was. It was, whether it was Python, whether it was SQL and SSIS packages in SQL, whether it was a certain plugin that only worked with this version of WordPress. Like I wanted to learn everything about everything. And you might say, well, that's crazy to try to learn an entire, IT environment. Well, let me tell you, at the first place that I worked where I went from help desk to systems developer, I was the only developer for about 7 months before I left. And I was responsible for a 10,000 user company and responsible for 25 applications and scripts, and that had to run on a monthly basis. And the applications that were up all the time, like 8 full stack applications. I mean, like the amount of workload was like 80 hours a week. And it almost killed me. Like, I mean, like I literally have gray hair in my beard at 26 because of that company. But I will tell you that I learned so much. So my second or third tip would be to would be to always make sure that you are saying yes to projects. Even if they are too challenging for you, if you think there's just an inkling that you could pull it off, say, I will see what I can do. Don't necessarily say, yeah, it's going to get done at this date and this time, because you're a new developer. You have no idea how long it's going to take you. If you're looking at something new, you have no idea. Don't make a promise, but say, hey, let me try to do it. Give me the hours to try to do this. Give me the chance to prove myself that I can build something for you that you need. And this goes for anyone, right? That's how I even went from help desk to systems administrator. I saw for the very first time in my life what Active Directory looks like. And for all you systems administrators out there, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, I saw Active Directory for the first time in my life, and I was like, this is like the easiest thing on the planet. And I was like, okay, well, if I can change users in here, and my job is to literally add and delete users, why can't I just be managing other things about this? And then that expanded to, internal Exchange, right? On-prem Exchange. Just fucking crazy. That's that all long ago. And then it went into learning 365, and then it went into learning, everything, basically everything about like even how to build a server and stand up a server from scratch and what RAID controllers are. Like, I mean, all of that all the way into, I picked up a little bit of networking along the way. I'm by no means a network engineer, but I can jump into a switch. I can change port configurations. I can, change, STP stuff, like very basic stuff I can do on a Cisco switch. Anything else I'm useless at, but I've just picked that up along the way because I've had to write scripts for networking equipment to be able to jump into them with like Python and Paramico, jump into them and then pull information out of them or change information within them. So I've just picked up some of those commands along the way. But anyway, so I, continued on and just learning everything, absolutely everything there is to know about IT. And that has, I think, been the number one thing that has accelerated me into this position that I'm in today. Just being able to talk about any side of IT, basically. And today I'm still learning because at our current company, we are a sports entertainment, type company. And I have to learn about AV equipment, and I'm still learning to this day. I've know a bit about networking. I know software development. I know systems and compute, but I don't know AV. And so I'm literally having to learn that too. So that brings me to my third thing, which is you never stop learning in IT. You just have to accept that going forward. Like if you think that this is going to be a job to where you can just start from day one and learn for like 6 months and then you're just going to coast, that's just not IT. In any IT job, except maybe some help desk positions, that's just not how it works. Like you are having to learn and adapt to new technologies on a daily basis. And that's just part of the job. So if that sounds daunting and scary, it's not. It just takes effort. And if that sounds like too much effort, then IT is just not for you. It really isn't. It's not like an accountant where you learn the accounting software and then you just continue to enter the same software on a monthly basis over and over and over again, like for month after month, year after year. That's just not how IT is. IT evolves on a daily basis. You're either creating new things, you're dealing with new errors that you've never seen before, you're dealing with new software that you've never used before. I mean, it's a constant battle to try to learn things. So I highly recommend that you guys heed my advice on this, and that if you are wanting to go into IT, do it. It is one of the most rewarding things of all, and especially for software development. I thought I'd hate it, when I started, and then I had to do it, and I love it. Especially the back end. I'm still not a big fan of the front end, but the back end, absolutely love taking data, manipulating data, feeding machine learning models, building out all kinds of really, really cool applications. That's just the most fun thing to do. And then even on the DevOps side, building containers, building, using Terraform, using AWS ECS, like so many cool things are in IT that you just have to get exposure to be able to play with them. So, all right, guys. Well, until next time, I will see you later. And also, if you haven't yet, make sure that you like and subscribe, and that way I can keep making these really cool videos. All right, see you guys later.